Having proven its success, The X-Files was renewed for a second season, but Carter once again clashed with Fox over Gillian Anderson's casting. Anderson had become pregnant during production of season 1 and needed time off. Fox once again insisted on another blonde bombshell type to take over the role, but Carter instead opted to integrate the pregnancy into season 2's story arc. After briefly considering the idea of Scully giving birth to an alien, he instead devised a plot where Scully would be abducted, allowing Gillian Anderson her needed time off. Mulder is instead partnered with upstart FBI agent Alex Krycek, played by Nicholas Lea, who had previously appeared in season 1's Genderbender. The status quo shakeup facilitated by the shutdown of the X-Files creates a string of strong episodes in the first half of the season. Following another alien encounter in Little Green Men, the show delivers more memorable Monster of the Week outings. The host sees the agents hunt down a sewer-dwelling killer mutant, a Jaws-esque creature feature full of tense sequences, gory action, and a dash of crude humor. In Sleepless, Mulder contends with a vengeful Vietnam vet who has the power to kill with dreams. Tony Todd guest stars as the illusionist killer. The Candyman actor delivers a characteristically excellent performance as Preacher, bringing an intensity and raw emotion to the character which makes him as sympathetic as he is scary. The episode also keeps us on our toes regarding Alex Krycek. In keeping with the status quo shakeup, at first Krycek appears to be a believer like Mulder. In contrast to Scully's skepticism, Krycek's open-minded views position him as a potential pupil for Mulder to mentor, only for the final scene to reveal him as a spy working for the powers behind the alien conspiracy. This uneasiness extends to the pivotal two-parter Duane Barry and Ascension. When an alleged alien abductee takes hostages, Mulder is sent in as a negotiator, but his sympathies may be misplaced. Steve Railsback turns in yet another outstanding guest performance as the unhinged Duane Barry. He creates a constant tension around his character with his sudden explosive fits of rage and fear, terrifying those around him who never know what little thing might set him off. The two-parter goes from a suspenseful standoff to an edge-of-the-seat manhunt when Duane Barry kidnaps Scully. As Mulder races to rescue her, he also has to contend with Krycek's betrayal and the larger government forces at work. However, these episodes are merely the setup to a much more moving payoff in the episode One Breath. When Scully suddenly reappears, comatose and slipping away, Mulder wrestles with his grief while fighting for a way to save his partner's life. One Breath is to Mulder what Beyond the Sea was to Scully. As fearless as Mulder is while breaking into military bases or chasing paranormal phenomena, when confronted with the possible death of a friend, he's at a loss. As Scully's family gathers to say goodbye, Mulder schemes with his new informant, Mr. X. In contrast to the warm and fatherly Deep Throat, Mr. X is a far pricklier character. Actor Stephen Williams weaponizes his deep, gravelly voice and imposing stature to create an intimidating screen presence. The episode subtly creates a dichotomy between Mr. X and the Scully family. On the one hand, Mulder can descend into the underworld and lose himself to bitter violence, or surrender himself to a spiritual acceptance of Scully's fate. The true tragedy of the story is that ultimately Mulder fails to embrace either option. He fails to find the information he needs, and he can't bring himself to accept Scully's death. Instead, Mulder breaks down, consumed by despair. Only thanks to a miracle does Scully come back to the land of the living. Echoing Beyond the Sea, Mulder finds solace in his only real friendship, but the audience is left with many questions. Following this emotional saga, Season 2 continues with several strong Monster of the Week episodes. There's a reprise of the Thing-inspired paranoia in Firewalker, and a gruesome epidemic in F. Emasculata.
You're burning the bodies, why?
They love some exploding body parts this season. The two standouts, however, are Irresistible and Die Handy Verletz. The former sees Scully hunt a serial killer preying on young women. It's a chilling episode with an unsettling guest performance from Nick Chinland. His flat affectation and blank expression creates an impression of something not altogether human, a feeling reinforced by glimpses of him as a horned demon. However, the truly disturbing thing about the episode is that there is nothing paranormal about this killer. It would almost be easier to stomach if Donald Faster's sickening acts were those of some inhuman monster, but they aren't. A fact more terrifying than any ghostly apparition or extraterrestrial invader. At the other end of the spectrum is Die Hand die Verletz, which sees Mulder and Scully confront a demonic cult of high school teachers. Though just as dark in subject matter as Irresistible, the episode takes on a heightened tone, leaning into B-movie horror tropes with creative macabre imagery and a score lifted straight from The Omen. It's a layered narrative with multiple red herrings. While the cult of teachers seems initially threatening, the true puppet master is revealed to be substitute teacher Phyllis Paddock, implied to be either a witch or a demon in human form. As much as the various cultists want to believe they have tapped into supernatural powers, they are merely the playthings of a more powerful being who delights in tormenting the townsfolk simply for her own amusement. This was the last episode of the series written by Glenn Morgan and James Wong. The two left the X-Files to create the short-lived sci-fi series Space Above and Beyond, and they certainly left with a bang. As much as Morgan and Wong's influence would be missed in the show, new talent in Season 2 keeps the show fresh, namely writer-producer Darin Morgan, who penned the episodes Blood and Humbug. Morgan quickly became a fan-favourite writer for good reason. Despite Chris Carter's vision of the X-Files as a scary show tackling serious ideas, Morgan's take is decidedly more tongue-in-cheek. In Blood, phobia-prone people are driven to a murderous frenzy by screens telling them to kill. It's a brilliant idea in its simplicity. The episode contains some visceral content, but the over-the-top music stings and hammy performances push the tone into dark comedy. Humbug is a unique murder mystery set within a community of circus performers. Here, Morgan showcases his talent for creating colourful characters with quirky personalities. From a short-tempered motel manager with dwarfism who lauds his meagre achievements over others, to a spaced-out alcoholic with a conjoined twin.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like you to meet my brother Leonard. Excuse him, he's a little shy. Big laughs, I tell you, big laughs.
The episode challenges the agents and the audience in their perception of the other. Mulder and Scully frequently grapple with the strange and unusual encroaching on normality, but here they are the outsiders. In this world, none of the agents' assumptions are safe, and like the best murder mysteries, the truth was in plain sight all along, when Lanny's conjoined twin is revealed as the killer. Whereas Irresistible terrified us with the depth of human cruelty, Humbug delights us with the breadth of human diversity, and Darin Morgan delivers a darkly funny hour of television.
What's the matter with your friend?
Probably something I ate.
Outside these standalone episodes, Season 2 further develops what fans came to call the Mytharc, the long-running conspiracy storyline at the heart of the show. While episodes like the Erlenmeyer Flask laid the foundation for the arc in Season 1, Season 2 builds the show's universe beyond the generic ufology tropes taken from pop culture. I don't know if it's a hot take to say this, but I've always had tremendously mixed feelings towards Mytharc episodes. At their best, they're tight conspiracy thrillers full of suspenseful action and rich character drama. At their worst, they're convoluted nonsense underpinned by tiresome soap opera. The season's two-parters, Colony and Endgame, Anasazi and The Blessing Way, feature both the strengths and weaknesses of the arc. Brian Thompson makes for an imposing villain as the unnamed alien bounty hunter. The character's shape-shifting abilities leads to some fantastically suspenseful sequences.
Scully? Are you there? Scully?
But Thompson's own unique facial features, large stature, and deep voice make the character memorable in his own right. Another recurring antagonist is the mysterious cigarette-smoking man, played by William B. Davis. At the time, Davis was an acting teacher in Vancouver, and his role amounted to a glorified extra in the pilot episode. Over the first 2 seasons, however, Davis impressed the producers with his classical gravitas, which made the smoking man into the show's most iconic villain. The smoking man's level of conviction is what makes him so dangerous. Rather than a mustache-twirling evildoer, he genuinely believes what he's doing is for the greater good. Davis underplays the role with a casual demeanor and steady speaking voice. He is totally unfazed by mortal threats and immune to intimidation. He carries himself as though he's always 10 steps ahead of his enemies. He barely even registers Mulder as a threat. At least, that seems to be the case at first. The Mytharc soon makes a major misstep by intertwining Mulder's family history with the alien conspiracy. His father is revealed as the smoking man's former colleague, and his sister's disappearance is attributed to a power move within the cabal of masterminds. While this succeeds in explaining Mulder's plot armor against the conspirators, it also makes this world feel much smaller, and distracts from the more interesting elements of the arc. For all his agonizing over his sister's abduction, Mulder's quest to find her quickly runs out of steam. Mulder is socially and professionally isolated due to his obsession with the X-Files and unorthodox beliefs. His quest for the truth is clearly motivated by his moral convictions. The supposed trauma he feels surrounding his sister is never definitively distinguished from these other aspects of his character, so we never get a sense of what would change about Mulder's life if he ever found her. Compounding the lack of a clear finish line, the Mytharc throws up far too many red herrings for this subplot. Mulder's sister appears in Colony only to be revealed as an alien clone, younger clones appear in later episodes, then it seems the smoking man apparently kidnapped her and adopted her, but this was possibly a clone as well. In the end, it's simply not a stimulating enough plot thread to maintain audience interest. When Mytharc episodes dial back on the soap opera and focus on the sci-fi thrills, they deliver a stream of excitement and intrigue. Thankfully, this is the case with the cliffhanger season finale, and this time even more fans were anticipating its resolution. The show not only held on to the ratings from season 1, but grew to an average of 14 million viewers, with 16 million watching the premiere and finale. This pushed the X-Files into the top 100 shows in the USA. Season 2 also earned the show multiple Emmy nominations and a Golden Globe win for Best Television Drama. Clearly, the X-Files was poised to become more than a cult success. Season 3 builds on the strengths of the second year with another slate of strong standalone episodes and a deeper dive into the Mytharc. In the two-part season premiere The Blessing Way and Paperclip, it's worth highlighting Mitch Pileggi as assistant director Walter Skinner. Introduced in season 1, Skinner at first seemed like a secondary antagonist for the show, a pencil-pushing bureaucrat whose only purpose was to bog down Mulder and Scully's investigations in red tape. But over his subsequent appearances, Skinner is revealed as a valuable ally to the agents. Unlike Mulder and Scully, who openly speak truth to power, damn the consequences, Skinner is a smarter player who picks his battles carefully. Skinner's obstinate attitude doesn't come from cowardice but from compassion. He constantly looks out for the agents, often taking flack for their actions, and when push comes to shove, he always goes the extra mile to have their back.
Agent Mulder took a commercial flight to Tacoma, Washington. From there he caught a military plane to Dead Horse, Alaska.
Mitch Pileggi's tight-jawed performance came from his audition when the actor happened to be having a bad day which put him in a foul mood. Skinner is so completely humorless it ends up being ironically funny. His voice is always low and gravelly, his body language always tense and authoritative. It's a set of acting choices which presents Skinner as an overly stressed disciplinarian, but also embodies his courage and moral fortitude. Season 3 also features an incredible hot streak from star writer Darin Morgan. His unique blend of colourful characters, sinister subject matter, and dark comedy are brilliantly showcased in the episodes Clyde Buckman's Final Response, War of the Coprophages, and Jose Chung's From Outer Space. In the first of this trilogy, guest star Peter Boyle plays the eponymous hapless psychic, enlisted to help track down a serial killer. This cliched premise is given a fresh coat thanks to the vibrant personalities of the characters and their oddball dialogue, such as the hypnotic eyebrows of the stupendous Yappy.
I can assure you, Mr. Yappy, I'm a believer in psychic ability.
So you say with your mouth. But you thought, tell me the truth.
The bizarre innocence of the killer.
You've seen the things I do in the past as well as in the future. So tell me, please, why have I done them?
Don't you understand yet, son? You do the things you do because you're a homicidal maniac.
That does explain a lot, doesn't it?
Or the offbeat whimsy of Buckman himself.
You're looking down. You stepped in a pie that's fallen to the floor. The killer comes up to you and coconut cream.
What?
The pie. Coconut cream, or is it lemon meringue? As you're looking down, he comes up with a knife and banana cream. Definitely banana cream.
The way the script ping-pongs back and forth between humor and horror is so enjoyable it obscures the deep sadness at the heart of the narrative. As fun a character as he is, Clyde Buckman is a man haunted by visions of death. The constant reminders of life's futility gradually wears away at his resolve, until, in the end, he tragically takes his own life.
We end up in bed together. You're holding my hand very tenderly, and you're looking at me with such compassion. Tears are streaming down my face. I feel so grateful. It's just a very special moment neither of us will ever forget.
It's a masterfully orchestrated but heartbreaking ending. War of the Coprophages is more overtly comedic, in which a small town is apparently invaded by killer cockroaches from space. Despite its simple B-movie premise, the episode is a cleverly written piece of social satire. Though it features plenty of insect horror, their presence at a series of unexplained deaths is purely coincidental. Yet the episode plays on our instinctual fear of insects as the town humorously descends into mass panic. The episode even pokes fun at the audience by adding a fourth wall breaking cockroach crawling across the screen. I'm not gonna lie, when I first saw this as a kid, I leapt out of my skin. Finally, there's the hysterical Jose Chung's from Outer Space, in which an opportunistic author writes a book based on the eyewitness accounts of an X-Files case. The script unravels like a science fiction Rashomon, as the perspective of each character adds another piece to the puzzle, while obfuscating and contradicting important details. The clashing perspectives of each narrator creates brilliant comedy, such as censoring swear words.
You really bleeped up this case. Hey, I just got a call from some crazy blankety-blank claiming he found a real live dead alien body.
He said they just found your bleeping UFO.
Poking fun at the show's leads.
His face was so blank and expressionless. He didn't even seem human. The only time he reacted was when he saw the dead body.
And leaning into outright absurdity. Each interview and flashback is overflowing with unreliable narration, false memories, and outright lies. Though there is the outline of a concrete conspiracy which any keenly observant viewer can discern, the episode is ultimately about the tenuousness of truth itself. With so much contradictory information colored by personal interpretation, can anyone involved in this case really say for certain what happened? What makes Darin Morgan's writing so resonant, and why I personally prefer his style to that of Chris Carter, is the human qualities he finds within these strange stories. Whereas Carter's goal is to terrify the audience with the paranormal, Morgan's writing revels in it. The world is a strange place, and life is full of bizarre, unexplainable events, and Morgan uses that universal truth to tickle our funny bones and move our hearts. Jose Chung's from Outer Space is the crowning glory of his legendary work on the X-Files. Morgan, however, is not the only star writer on the show. Before he became the famed creator of Breaking Bad, Vince Gilligan joined the X-Files writing team in Season 2. Though his debut episode Soft Light is standard fare, his skillful writing is more evident in his second episode, Pusher. Here, Mulder and Scully join a manhunt for a contract killer who wills victims to their deaths with the power of words. The tightly plotted script weaves a complex cat-and-mouse game as Pusher stays one step ahead of the agents, stringing them along with riddles and clues to lure them into deadly traps. Pusher's dialogue is also cleverly written to stretch out the tension. Rather than bluntly instructing his victims into harm's way, he ensnares them with seemingly inane trivia and visual metaphors. Only too late do they realize how Pusher is manipulating them. Guest star Robert Wisden steals the show as the eponymous Pusher. His ease and confidence are what make him so magnetic to watch. Knowing he can literally talk his way out of everything, Pusher barely ever raises his voice or acts anxious. Wisdom sets the pace of every scene with his steady line delivery and soothing voice. In a lot of ways, he mirrors David Duchovny's screen presence, underplaying the part with a dose of deadpan humor. However, Pusher's ego sets him apart from Mulder. Whereas Mulder is a hard-working, highly intelligent and courageous man, unfairly maligned by his corrupt superiors, Scully correctly identifies Robert Modell as a small man who wants to feel big. For as terrifying as his abilities are, Modell is a rather pathetic figure. He appropriates Japanese Bushido to lend his narcissistic killing spree some superficial importance. Despite all his talk of skilled minds matching wits in a battle of wills, Pusher's ability comes not from rigorous training, but from a randomly inflicted brain tumor. This aspect of his personality makes Pusher all the more hateable. While he deludes himself into thinking his actions are part of a warrior quest, in truth it's all a sick power trip. When Pusher's game is finally broken by something as simple as a fire alarm, his well-deserved comeuppance is extra satisfying. Another one of the X-Files' strongest villains, and one of Season 3's best episodes.